Heads up, Bears fans. Something big is brewing in Chicago's backfield, and you don't want to miss out on the details. What would you think if I told you that a key player is being sent to a team that's got all the pieces to make a Super Bowl run? Yep, the same guy you might have seen fade out in recent games. This move could completely shake up the NFL landscape. But hold on, are the Bears considering a bold shift in one of the most underrated positions? Word is, there's a punter generating more hype than ever. Could this guy be the game changer we've been waiting for to shift the pace? And here's the kicker. Chicago's defense is about to revive one of the most legendary tactics in its history. That's right, we're talking about a scheme that made us unbeatable in 1985. Reports are coming in strong, and if the Bears can pull this off like they did back in the day, we might just be witnessing the rebirth of a defensive monster. Is this the end of Khalil Herbert with the Chicago Bears? Let me tell you this. After what we saw in the win against the Rams, with 131 rushing yards and a solid performance from D'Andre Swift and Roskin Johnson, you've got to wonder, is there still room for Herbert on this team? I think not. Herbert, who was once our undisputed starter, has been stuck on the bench, watching his playing time dwindle down to scraps. And now, the Kansas City Chiefs might be knocking on the door, ready to scoop up the 26-year-old running back. Now let me ask you, is it worth letting Herbert go for a couple of seventh-round picks? I think we could get something better if we play our cards right. We know the Chiefs are having issues with their lead back, and with Ryan Poles having ties to Kansas City, maybe, just maybe, we could squeeze out a fifth-rounder if we throw in one of our seventh-round picks. But do we really want to move on from Herbert? I'll say this, if they're not going to use him, the best thing might be to find him a new home. And what better place than a Super Bowl contending team like the Chiefs? But hold up. Let's talk about the Bears' ground game. I believe we finally saw a glimmer of hope. Swift and Johnson were unstoppable against the Rams, and if this trend continues, we might see Chicago return to that physical, dominant team we've all been waiting for. Swift's numbers speak for themselves. 93 yards and a touchdown, and also being a reliable option for Caleb Williams in the passing game. Johnson made his mark too, and this all leads me to one question. Can we sustain this success in Week 5 against the Panthers? Let me tell you, the Panthers have one of the worst run defenses so far this season. With Shaq Thompson out for the year and Josie Jewell also dealing with injuries, everything is set for the Bears to repeat their ground game performance. If Swift and Johnson stay healthy, we could be looking at another big night for Chicago's rushing attack. Now hear me out. The fact that we're talking about moving Herbert brings me to this final thought. Is it the best move for the Bears, or are we rushing into it? What if Swift or Johnson gets hurt later on? I think Poles has to be really smart here because the Bears' window for success with Williams is now. Alright, who here thinks a punter can change the outcome of a game? Let me tell you this. Tory Taylor is doing just that. And no, it's not just overhyped talk, it's the reality we saw against the Rams. Do you really think it's a coincidence the Bears' defense had so much success keeping LA at bay? I don't think so. This guy Taylor averaged 55 yards per punt in that game, with his longest going 66 yards. Do you understand what that means? We're talking about flipping the entire field. Pinning the opposing team deep near their own end zone isn't just luck, it's strategy. And that's where Taylor comes in. How many teams can brag about having a secret weapon in special teams? Let me ask you this. When was the last time a Bears punter generated this much buzz? Exactly, you can't remember because it hasn't happened. Now, some might say, well, he's just a punter. Is all this attention really worth it? I'll tell you, yes, absolutely. When you see every one of his punts putting the opposing offense in a tough spot, how can you not appreciate that? This guy isn't just doing his job, he's changing the game. And look, this isn't a fluke. The guy comes from Iowa, where people were already saying he was the best player on the team. A punter. How many punters get that kind of praise? Almost none. And yet Ryan Poles picked him in the 4th round. Was it a gamble? Sure it was. But let me tell you this, Poles knew what he was doing. Sometimes it's about seeing beyond the flashy positions like quarterback or wide receiver. And now, with Taylor on the team, the Bears have a tactical advantage most teams just can't match. But here's the big question. Is Taylor going to keep playing at this level all season? I think he will. And it's not just because of what we saw against the Rams. The guy is averaging 48 yards per punt through the first 4 games, with 9 of those punts landing inside the 20-yard line. That's 9 times the opponent started deep in their own territory. He's only had 2 touchbacks in 20 attempts, which means he has incredible control over the ball. Let me tell you something, Bears fans. We all know that since 1985, Chicago's defense has been one of the most iconic in NFL history. And sure, the team is trapped in that shadow. Is it fair? Of course not. But is it the reality? I tell you it is, and we all know it. That 85 defense didn't just win a Super Bowl. They dominated. But here we are in 2024, and let me ask you, does this current defense have what it takes to measure up to those monsters of the past? I think so. Look at what they've done so far. In Week 1, Tyreek Stevenson gave us that spectacular pick-six to seal a comeback against Tennessee. And last week, when the Rams were about to make a comeback, bam, another interception to close the game. I'll tell you this, when a defense starts forcing turnovers like the Bears are doing, you know something special is happening. Jalen Johnson said it best when he quoted, "We all compete to see who will make that play." That's how champions are forged. And if that doesn't remind you of the 85 defense, I don't know what will. Because let me tell you, competing to see who's going to make the big play, that's the DNA of champions. Now I ask you, what team in their right mind wants to face this defense in December? Nobody. Nobody wants to deal with a team that pressures you, hits you, and takes the ball away. Because we're not talking about just a good defense. We're talking about a defense that aspires to be legendary. And before you tell me, oh, it's too early to make comparisons, let me remind you, the Bears have always had great defenses. Since 2000, we've had a top 5 defense in 7 seasons. 7. It's a legacy, and this 2024 unit wants to be part of that history. Now tell me, who can stop this group? They have it all. Montez Sweat and Tremaine Edmonds have been Pro Bowlers, Jalen Johnson is playing at an elite level, and we have young talents like Gervon Dexter and Kyler Gordon, who are on the verge of breaking out. This is the kind of defense that breaks games and ruins seasons. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just look at the numbers. In just 2 weeks, they're setting an unstoppable pace, forcing turnovers and crushing quarterbacks. If they keep this up, I'll tell you right now, come December, nobody will want to play against the Bears. Bears Nation, you have the floor. Should we trust Khalil Herbert to lead our rushing attack, or is it time to bolster other areas of the team? Leave your comments below. I want to hear what you think, because this could define the future of our offense. Now I ask you, is Tory Taylor the secret weapon the Bears have been looking for? Or do you think this hype will fizzle out? If this kid keeps it up, he could be one of the best draft picks. Share your thoughts. Could he be the one to change the game dynamics for good? Leave me your comments and subscribe if you haven't already. This is where you'll always get the latest news and analysis on our beloved Chicago Bears. And my loyal fans, one last question. Do you think our defense is destined to be one of the best of all time? Or is there still something special missing? Comment below. I want to read your opinions. This defense has the potential to mark an era, but I want to know if you feel the same way. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like so you don't miss any updates. Here in this community, we're more than just fans. We're family. Join us and help us grow this channel so we can celebrate every victory of our Chicago Bears together. Let's go Bears! See you in the next video.